Good evening, my darklings. Tonight on the Paranormal 60, we're diving into the enigmatic world of remote viewing, where the impossible becomes possible, when the mind ventures into uncharted territories beyond our physical form. Have you ever wondered if it's possible to see events, places, or even people from miles away without leaving your seat? Join us as we uncover the secrets behind this fascinating psychic ability with stories, techniques, and real life experiences that might just make you question the limits of human perception. Tune in and prepare to expand your reality next, right here. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Hello, my friends. Many of you I had a chance to see out at the Michigan Paracon this past weekend, and we had an amazing time. And saying goodbye to the Michigan Paracon, that's going to be a tough one, folks. You know, having the ability to get together over the last 15 years has far superseded just the concept of a paranormal convention. It's become a family reunion, friends, family, and more every year, gathering together under one roof to share ideas, to open our minds, to expand our consciousness. And I just want to thank the entire Youpers team for the amazing 15-year run. And thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this. As a quick update, Chris Fleming was admitted into the hospital on Friday. He has been kept there. He has, unfortunately, the blood cancer has flipped to a very aggressive form of leukemia. It has spread throughout 75% of his body, and he will begin radical chemotherapy treatment on Tuesday. So please keep Chris Fleming in your thoughts and prayers as we continue on. And for those of you that may not have heard, Andrea Perrin, a good friend of ours, she is the oldest daughter from the Conjuring house, the original family that lived there, the Perrin family. Andrea is facing stage 4 metastatic breast cancer that has spread throughout her body. She is also doing very aggressive chemotherapy to try to curtail this and get some control. So please keep Andrea Perrin in your thoughts as well. All right, let's get started. You know, doing these events like the conventions that we always do, and Michigan Paracon reconnects friends, brings people back together. And I had a chance to connect with an old friend, someone that I've had on the show before, and he is back tonight. Joining us is Rick Waid, a gifted seer whose journey began with a deep fascination for the paranormal. His abilities, which started with visions of future events, quickly expanded as he connected with people worldwide, providing profound insights into their lives and those of their departed loved ones. And over the years, Rick's assisted in missing person cases, offered guidance on haunted locations, and Rick utilizes the skill of remote viewing to gain an interesting insight into the world around us. He is here this evening to join us. Welcome to the program, Rick Waid. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to connect with you again. I really appreciate this. And I wanted to kind of talk about remote viewing for quite a few months now. The concept, as I continue to hear it pop up and the way things unfold, I'm curious, do you look at remote viewing as a form of psi or psychic ability?
Has to be. Most definitely.
That's what I think. But I've talked to remote viewers that have worked with the government, and they're saying, no, this isn't psychic. This has nothing to do with psychic abilities or powers. And I don't know if they're afraid of labeling it under something like that will brand them in an unflattering way or light, but they seem to think that it's something outside of psychic or psi. It's almost like talking with Marianne Winkowski, the real life ghost whisperer. Here is a woman who is classically remote viewing, and she considers her abilities to not be psychic at all. But if you talk to her over the phone from your home or business, and you believe you have a ghost there, if she can suddenly start to see inside your home while she's talking to you, you have a ghost. And if she can't, if she's talking to you and there's nothing coming through, that's how she tells. But she has told me time and time again, Dave, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. That's not what I do. And I found that fascinating. So I'm glad to hear kind of a different perspective coming from you. You were seeing flashes of future and able to communicate with the dead. Obviously, we put that in the psychic categories and mediumistic categories, but remote viewing allows us to see the future, to see the past, to see into places we've never been before. Where do you think this information is actually coming from then?
Well, let me explain something to you. First of all, there's a psychic, there's a medium, and then there's a seer. Now, whenever I connect with people's energy and people's past loved ones, I see them when they were here on Earth.
Okay.
I don't see them on the other side. Okay. I'm a seer. So I remote view and see their energy. I will see details about them. I will see things going on in their life. I will see maybe health issues. I will see how they passed. All this stuff is given to me. It's almost like I'm seeing through the actual person I'm reading's eyes and the person's that's past eyes. But I feel we all have a guide, spirit guide, guardian angel. I feel that information is downloaded to me as soon as I step in that space. It's downloaded to me. I'm able to connect with their energy and their past loved one's energy through their eyes, which is kind of interesting. That's why I call myself a seer.
All right. So let me start here. I'm going to take you kind of down a strange road for a minute, Rick. And I know you're like me. We love the strangest of roads, right?
Yes, sir.
I have had many dreams where in the dream, I'm conscious that I'm me. I'm Dave Schrader. But when I glance up in the mirror, like Quantum Leap, the reflection I'm seeing is not my own. But if I lock eyes long enough into a mirror, it's like that physical form that's looking into it suddenly realizes, oh, that's not me. Somebody else is in there. I know that sounds weird to explain, but I've often wondered, in that dream realm, in that space, am I remote viewing a past life of my own, seeing through my own eyes? And if so, how is it that that version of me is able to tell by looking into my eyes or his own eyes and know that there's something off? That has been just like a mind screw for me for decades.
Well, it's very interesting. Whenever I started my journey, though, it's interesting. When I first started my journey, it was all about remote viewing, and I didn't know what remote viewing was. I just put a post on Unexplained Mystery before Facebook saying, let me see things around you. And that's all it was. I would actually concentrate and see things around. For instance, I would see a single boot all the time. I would just see a single boot. Didn't make any sense. But to the individual, it made perfect sense because she was an artist and all she drew was just single boots. You understand what I mean?
Okay, right.
So seeing exactly what's going on. Back to the past life. Very interesting story. I got to tell you a quick one here.
Please.
I was doing past life. I didn't know how to do it, but I just, I was having so much fun with the actual looking at objects and stuff that a lady asked me to do a past life. Well, I started doing past lives after that. And I got to one gentleman. He said, please do me a favor and read my past life. Okay. I said, great. No problem. Sounds good. I'll do what I can. I'm having fun. This is exciting, right?
Sure.
So all of a sudden, I'm reading the gentleman. I get a name. I get a plane name. And I get that he went missing in action. Well, he ended up finding this plane and the gentleman's name. And he looked him up. And I'm telling you, he posted a picture of him and a picture of the person that passed away. And guess what? Identical twins.
No kidding.
Seriously, identical twins. Everything looked just like him. So it is shocking. But the thing is, he had nightmares of crashing in a plane all the time. See, he was reliving that crash from his past life.
So then, is it really a form of remote viewing, or are they just recollected memories that are playing back like a movie? Because to me, it felt more like I was living, I was breathing, it was all there, but I was conscious that it wasn't me in physical form. I didn't know the area, I didn't know the people I was with. That's why I said I likened it to the TV show Quantum Leap. I had always felt like I jumped into somebody else's body, but I always jumped into that same guy. It was always that same physical form in different stages or places throughout their life. And it was a very weird, surreal moment. And to me, that has always kind of defied most logic for me. And I thought, oh, well, sure, why wouldn't we have dreams of our past lives if they live there in the Rolodex of our memory and DNA? But in these instances, instead of just like a memory, like I'm watching a movie, it's like I'm in the movie as it's unfolding, but I'm conscious that it's me, even though it doesn't physically look like this version of Dave Schrader.
Well, let me explain something to you.
Please.
When I do past life reading, I did some at Michigan Paracon. I did some past life reading. And I'm telling you, what's so interesting is when I'm connecting with their energy, I explain to them before I even get started, pay attention to your dreams because it's going to come through in your dreams. The rest of your past life, or it's all going to make sense to you in your dream. You're going to relive it. After I tell you, I kind of worry sometimes with people because I've read some people. I read one young lady and I said, you lived in the castle, you lost your husband, and then you end up committing suicide by cutting your wrists. This was a young lady that wanted a reading. 3 months later, guess what? She couldn't handle what I gave her and she slit her wrist. Man. And she's okay. She's fine, but she slit her wrist and it really did something to her mind. You know what I mean? It really did something.
The cyclical nature of it. Interesting. We've got Dexter's mom from the chat says, Dave, I dream the same way, but I believe it's someone else's soul that showed me what happened to them in life, but they have passed. That's an interesting, different perspective on it, Dexter's mom. Like I said, to me, it feels like even though I know it's me, but not physically, I feel that connection that I believe this was me. It doesn't feel alien to me. The vessel feels alien, but the connection feels like it's been the same through thread, just a different avatar.
It's really interesting too. I've read over 13,000 people. I've been around. I've helped on many missing person cases. Matter of fact, one of the big cases I worked on was the smiley face murder cases. I worked on that when that was happening with the actual professor and with the actual detectives. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I still didn't know what remote viewing was at the time. I was just remote viewing all kinds of things. He said he'd never met anybody like me. I was connecting with him, what he's actually writing down on paper when I'm connecting, and all of his notes with the family, with the missing person. It's like I'm seeing everything. We're talking direct details about the information. So he said he never had anybody ever in his life work with anybody who could actually do that. So it was interesting to him. But I want to explain something to you though. Now, when I first started, it was remote viewing, or whatever you want to call it. I was seeing an object. Then I went to past lives. Each step I took, it took me 3 to 6 months before I could actually do that. I think I prayed to God. I did pray to God because I thought it was interesting how people could actually do remote viewing. They could do a reading past loved ones. They could do all that stuff. And I couldn't do it at first. So I had to actually pray and I had to wait before it actually happened. I think I had to do so many readings before I could move up to the next step. Now, whenever Facebook came on, everybody was reading past loved ones by a picture. I couldn't do nothing. Couldn't connect with them. I had to pray. I prayed. And all of a sudden, I always feel there's an angel that comes in my life and gives me that opportunity to move to the next step. And that's exactly what was happening. A lady came up to me on Facebook and said, listen, join my group and you'll be able to read past loved ones. I said, no, I can't do that. She said, join my group. I joined a group and I'm telling you, I had hundreds of thousands of people waiting for their past loved one readings. That's how it was. And I was connected to everything I was offering. And it's kind of amazing. But when I first started doing this, I actually would just take and write down 10 things in the morning or put it on my recorder. I would write it down and then I would go and see if that actually appeared for me. And I'm telling you, even if I saw a 3-legged dog in my vision, there it was. I went to a house, there was a 3-legged dog. If I seen a horseshoe drive, or I was even getting audio. I was hearing audio because I have the ability to hear a special frequency. So I was actually hearing audio. I went to one house. I kept hearing, we're going down to the dungeon. So I arrived at the house, walked in the house, and the lady said, we're going down to the dungeon. So I'm actually hearing audio too and seeing. So It was
Now,
amazing.
was there something to those flashes that you were like, you wake up in the morning, you write down the 10 things. Was there something important about those things, or was it more just like a memory flip card game? You were just trying to expand your consciousness to, all right, here's what I'm going to see. It didn't necessarily mean that the horseshoe drive you saw might be a home of a murder victim. It didn't mean that the, pack of cigarettes might be your father. It was just random things that your consciousness was going out and tagging so that you could practice and build that skill.
And I think that's what it was. See, I think what it was. I was obsessed with the paranormal. I almost lost my job. I almost lost my family because of the obsession. That's one thing about me. I obsess over things. So after the actual obsession with audio, God took that away from me for a while and said, listen, here's something new. And then I started actually seeing things. But then that became an obsession too, because I started reading people, 7 to 10 people every day. So I shifted from one obsession to another obsession. But this obsession was amazing because audio was like tons of voices coming to me, wouldn't give me nothing. Visions, they were different. These actual insight I was getting was amazing because they were directly connected to my day or directly connected to my week. It was amazing to be able to see direct connect information. And that's why I call myself a direct connect reader, because I can go into a room, have 20, 30 people. I'll go in and step into that space, connect with that person's energy, that person's past loved one. But the thing is, I'm still remote viewing when I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm seeing things. I'm seeing, for instance, I did a reading on an individual and I kept seeing, I kept seeing something about, the body jerking. And all of a sudden, the person passed away, and then the daughter went and hugged him, and then his arms jerked and hugged her after he passed.
Oh,
But
wow.
You understand what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like I'm seeing through her eyes, or I'm actually seeing through his eyes even after he passed, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, but a beautiful gift. We've got a message from Michelle Spence. She says it makes a $5 donation. Thank you, Michelle. U.S. government has a team of remote viewers. They have stated that the participants have been trained to remote view, and it's very fascinating. Yeah, Michelle, I'm aware. Russell Targ and some of the others that have been out there teaching this protocol. That's why I brought up at the beginning: is this a psychic ability, or is this something else? Maybe a lot of science wants to stay away from terms psychic because it gives that tree huggery, fake, fraud. Whereas if we don't label it, we just call it remote viewing, it is more of an overall acceptance of a fact. Like, we know mold, this type of mold becomes penicillin, can cure, diseases and things that we're dealing with. This type of focus, this type of conscious awareness allows you to see beyond the physical form and see things that you were not familiar with. And it's not so much pseudoscience or supernatural, but it's heightened natural. So it's outside that vein of woo-woo that I think, so many practitioners and government officials probably want to try to avoid having that umbrella or that shadow cast on them, that this is, magic or something that is chicanery and skullduggery, whereas it is what it is. And do you think everybody has the ability? And I know everybody says, oh, we're all mediumistic to a degree. Do you think the ability to remote view is something that's easily taught to just about anybody, or does it really have to be predetermined people you think that are already ready to have that experience?
Let me explain that to you. I teach classes.
Okay.
Very simple. I teach classes. They come to my group. I teach them classes. I will do things remote viewing wise to see if they can actually connect. I'll put something behind an actual black cover or something to see if they can actually connect what's on the other side. Very rarely would anybody connect. Once in a while, one person will get all 3 objects right. They're, to me, on another level. They're on another level. They're more gifted. That's what's being given to me. Now, I've worked with many missing person cases and with psychic networks. Okay. I've been on psychic networks. I've worked with them. It's almost the same thing as a remote viewing. You have 50, 80, 100 psychics. They're actually connecting with a person that went missing, and they're offering what they see. Now, what they do is they just have a lead person that actually takes all that information and they put it all together and they try to match what they're all seeing. And then they will take that information and then they will give it to the police department. That's how these psychic networks, that's how they work. So I was doing that, see, and we're all doing that. Now we're all psychics, or we're all mediums, or we're all seers, right? But You know, that's what it is. The same thing as remote viewing. They all sit in the room, they write down what they see, then they take all that stuff together. And if they have 10 out of 10 on one thing, then they're going to go with that.
I would think, you know, if you had a group of 10 people in a room, and I know they do this, I know that classes teach us, and you're multiple people in one place. I often wonder how that would influence the reading, because if you're all picking up on something and I'm not, and I'm just like going with, okay, it's a unicorn. I'm for some reason I'm picking up a unicorn, but I'm not psychic at all. You guys are actually picking up on the real thing. Does my thought start to influence you guys at all in what you think you're picking up? Or is it just in the belief of the consciousness, belief in the connection, that what you're aiming for is what you're getting, and my thoughts are not going to influence yours or others that are really on target?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I believe that another energy that's in the room can affect you 100%. No doubts in my mind. 100%. Whenever I first started reading, I would read one person a day because I was overwhelmed.
Sure.
One person a day. And then I actually had a shaman come on the show, and he said, listen, you're going to learn to be able to read 15 to 20 people a day. And it happened exactly how it was. I have to learn, and we all have to learn to be able to protect ourselves, right? We all have to protect ourselves. So whenever I do readings in a room, I just put like a little bubble around me, man. I put a bubble around me. I connect with the energy. Nothing affects me. I didn't know I could do that, but it took time, training, and practice to be able to do it. But I'm telling you, it's an amazing thing when you're able to connect with another energy. I think I've connected in so many ways. I've connected with actual people being abducted. I used to read on multiple actual websites for forums, and I read one lady on one website. I read her, and I connected her with being abducted by an alien. Then I read another lady on another website, and I read her. Guess what? They both got abducted. Well, guess what? They're both friends, and it happened to both of them at the same time on different forums, but I read the same connection. They really were abducted. They were abducted.
I want to follow up with that in a second, especially with the alien element. Cosmic Joe throws $5 our way. Thank you, Cosmic Joe. How do you determine a target? Do you have someone who gives you a place where your target is? I think now when you talk about remote viewing, you're not doing it in the classic sense that like Russell Targ and Morehouse and the rest are doing it, right? That's kind of a different beast altogether.
Yeah, that's totally different. I've watched those guys do the remote viewing. They have an object somewhere in the wilderness or whatever, and they have to figure out where it is or figure out about it and stuff like that. I don't really do that, you know. Whenever I first started doing this, though,
let me do this real quick for Cosmic Joe. Joe, the concept, is my understanding and working with some remote viewers in the past, is that there will be 4 envelopes, and the target is in one of those envelopes, so that the people in the room have no clue what's the person running it doesn't know which envelope has the target. They don't know what's going on, but there might be 4 or 5 targets at a time that they want them to focus on, and they'll pick one, and all it is a yellow envelope, and it might have coordinates or a number attached to it, and then they use that number, that coordinates, mentally to kind of go to it. The coordinates are not necessarily true linear map coordinates, but this is the logistic number of this file or whatever it is, and then they tap into it and give them tactile, like what I can feel, what I can smell. Sometimes you can feel the mist on your face if you're by the ocean. You can feel the heat of the sun. Sometimes you can see, as Rick was saying, sometimes they're seeing through the eyes, or they're viewing it like they're watching a closed circuit TV. So it's usually determined by somebody specific. Like if they want to remote view Putin, they're going to not tell Rick and the other 4 or 5 people that they gathered what the target is, because they don't want to influence it. If Rick knows he's going to go into Putin, then Rick also has to begin sorting through what his imagination would tell him about Putin, what his preconceived notions might be. Whereas if I just hold the envelope up, all you have to do is focus on this, and you give me the information that comes from this and not from your own creativity and imagination. But Rick does it in a different way, and we'll cover that. I do just have to take a quick break. And then I also want to ask you, I'll plant this seed now so that we can talk about it when we come back. When you connect with somebody that's had an alien abduction, have you seen the abduction during that moment, and have the aliens ever noticed you? Don't answer that till we come back. We've got more to discuss. Rick Waid, our guest. We have a link up for Rick and for his books on today's program guide, so you can find more information about that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader. This is my Paranormal 60.
Did you know that radio just got a little extraterrestrial? That's right, Dave Schrader is back on radio with the Paranormal 360 every Sunday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Central on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station. Just download the Odyssey app and look for the WCCO logo, follow the station, and listen live. That's the Paranormal 360 on WCCO AM 830, an Odyssey station.
We are back. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Rick Waid has a few books out there. And again, you can find Awakening of a Seer by Rick Waid and My Paranormal Journey, One Man's Obsession. And again, we have a link for the books and for Rick's website on today's program guide. So whether you're watching us live right here on YouTube, watching the replay, or listening to the program, you'll find all that information in there. So Rick, explain again. Now, I explained kind of what the classic remote viewing concept is. Explain to us, if you will, again, when you are doing this, you're just making a psychic connection, but you're seeing, you're getting more information than just a ghost or a guide coming up and interpreting for the other person. You're becoming part of that vision, either of the person or of the person they're trying to connect with, correct?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
So with the alien abductions, it was very simple. I actually saw the actual room. I saw the curtains open up. I saw the doors open up. This is what I'm seeing. I saw the individual being taken. I'm just seeing the individual being taken. I see him sometimes being worked on a ship. I can actually see him messing with them and sticking things in them and stuff. So all this stuff is actually happening to me, but I never, ever did I see an alien look back at me, okay? But I do have an interesting story about what you're talking about. I was working on a person case overseas, and I was connecting with a little boy that got taken. And during the process of doing this reading, I was working with the police department overseas. And what they were doing was just taking all my information. So I would just, every day at 3:30 in the morning, I'd get up and I would do this remote viewing for them, or whatever you want to call it, seeing with my third eye or whatever you want to call it. But I was actually doing this, and every time I'd give them stuff, they would take the information and go talk to, in the department about what I'm given. So one day, I saw this lady throwing bones down, and then she looked at me. Just like you said, she looked at me. So I told the lady, the police officer I was working with, she said, you got to leave the case. You got to stop the case. You got to get away from it for a while. I said, why? Because she saw you. She's seeing you and you're seeing her, and it's not good. She's bad news. She's really bad. So I went and I kissed my son goodnight, and then I heard a whisper in my ear, a strange language. And then my son got deathly sick right after, like 5 minutes afterwards. He got really, really sick. It's like her energy was attacking my son. Weeks later, I went back and I got back on there, started doing the same thing. Then she's throwing the bones and looking right back at me again. And then I went and kissed my son again. And guess what? Exactly the same thing. He was being attacked through this lady from over in India.
No kidding.
Seriously,
so you're making that kind of connection. I guess there is the inherent danger of doing some of the things we do, because if there are other practitioners out there that are adept at picking up on those energies and you're remote viewing them, they may very well be seeing your camera turn on and be able to notice you as well. But then the scary thing is, then does that give them two-way access? When you're not paying attention, are they watching Rick Waid's world?
And that's another thing. It's interesting. It was so amazing to actually work with this police department that they took all my information. They went to an actual house, exactly what I described. They even sent me pictures of everything. They went in there, they raided the house, and they found evidence the kid was there. Off my visions. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Fantastic though, right? Is that, how surreal is that for you when you're helping on a case, you pick up this information and you have to trust the information that's being given to you. You have to trust how it's coming through, but there still has to be a part of you that's like, man, I hope I'm onto something. I might be, missing the posts by, 12 yards off to the left here. when it comes through and they're like, Rick, we found him. Explain to us, because many of us never will have that ability or that moment. What is it like when that happens for you?
Well, let me explain something to you. I've never found a missing person. Okay.
Okay.
Always given information where the body was, but I didn't know where that place was. But I will see things. For instance, I was working on a young lady that actually went missing. She was riding her bike. She went missing. And I ended up seeing 3 crosses, a large cross and 2 small crosses. When they finally found her, now they found her because the actual killer took them there.
Mhm.
But when they shot the picture of where she was found, I described the big cross, the 2 crosses, and to the right in the field. And that's exactly where they found her. But I didn't know where that was. But I still got it exactly right where she was. So isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah, that is. Dexter's mom brings up the question when you were talking about how you were being affected and your son was being affected by that feedback from the woman that you were remote viewing. Didn't you have that bubble around yourself while you were doing that? Is that what taught you then to do the bubble?
100%. See, I didn't know
Yeah.
about bubbles at the time. I didn't know anything about protections at the time. When I first started my paranormal stuff, man, I'm inviting them in my car. Come hang out with me. Let's come home with me. I was crazy, but that's that's how I was connecting with them, right? They really liked me, right? But I didn't know about protection until later on in life. Then I started protecting my home. I started protecting over my windows, putting a cross, saying a prayer. Believe me, yes, I didn't know at the time. And that's what it was. I learned over time how to do that.
Eternal Paranormal, thank you so much for the donation tonight. We appreciate that as well. When you're putting this bubble around you, again, is this, because this is, I think, what loses some people, right? I even have a hard time with it, but it's kind of how I feel. When I put my prayer out to protect myself, I almost imagine like energy coming out for me, surrounding me with the prayer, to keep me safe from negativity and things that mean me harm or the people I'm around. But it's more about the intention of, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to allow in. This is what I'm going to allow out. And you should be specific with that, I would guess, right? Because as you've made these different elevation steps, and God or the source that is helping you get there is holding you back a little bit till you learn enough to not be dangerous for yourself, right? You've obviously been shown, see what can happen if you don't know what you're doing. But that's kind of an interesting element to this.
Well, if you think about it, whenever I usually do readings at events, I used to take the individual and walk them down the hallway in a private area and do the reading. I could not read with all these people talking.
Sure.
Happening, I couldn't do it. I need to concentrate. I need to hear what's being given to me. I need to hear the voices or whatever's being shown to me or whatever I'm seeing. Well, it got to a point where I had a friend told me about the bubble. She told me about the bubble. Cover your area. Just believe, that there's a bubble around you, and just you and the person's in that bubble. And I'm telling you, it really works. And honestly, whenever I start reading, I don't hear nobody out there. Nobody's affecting me at all. I'm zoned in of that energy. And that's what it is. Now I know how to do it. So I can read people after, person after person after person. And I won't be affected by noise or nothing, which is really cool. But I had to learn. To do it that way. But it's interesting because whenever I connect with a reading of a person, like this weekend, they could actually feel it in their fingertips, the energy coming from me and making their fingers numb. It's kind of crazy.
Does it, I know you said you'd get overwhelmed, but you put up that static bubble. But if you're connecting with somebody who has something, their senses, their energy, their anxiety, depression, sadness, grief, whatever it is, does that ever feed back to you as well? I mean, do you end up feeling overwhelmed by emotion in those circumstances?
You got to watch me do a gallery reading because what happens as soon as I start connecting with the energies, it's almost like, and I talk very fast. It's like they come into my space and take over I get to connect with some kind of energy that takes over. And then all of a sudden I talk very, very fast. And then after I'm done, I almost fall backwards because of the energy. And I've almost fell off a second story before, second story floor. Wow. Because they had to catch me, I'm telling you, because it just overwhelms me and takes over. And then I let go, and then boom, I move on to the next person. I start the whole process over again.
Allison Wheeler says, is creating a bubble a good idea for anyone to do to keep negativity at bay?
I would say 100%. The
Mhm.
thing is about people, a lot of people don't even know they're going out to their grocery store, or they're going, to the doctors, whatever, and there's a negative energy that's there, an angry person. They might be pulling that energy and taking it home with them, and then their whole personality and their whole attitude is going to change. So we have to be careful. The thing is about me, my gifts, I have 100% control over my gifts, which is amazing. I go with anywhere, like the convention. I go out there, I don't see no energies. I don't connect with nobody. That's how I train myself to do that. I've asked God to cover me with his white light and not let any energy in until I want to connect. And then when a person steps in front of me, I get in their space and boom, we make the connection. But I'm not a medium, so I'm not seeing anybody dead. I don't see your aunt and your uncle there. I just sit down and offer. And the thing is, I can only offer a reading if they give me a first name of a past loved one. That's just how I do it. I have to have a name. And then I make the connection. Or if they want their energy, they have to say their name first. And then I can offer the energy. But it's shocking what I give them. It's shocking. Almost like, I'm feeling their emotions. I'm feeling their pain. I'm feeling their sadness. Yeah, I'm feeling all that stuff. And I'm actually kind of like living their life. And they can relate to it. So it shocks them.
It's almost like our friend Joe, who was a longtime friend of our radio shows in the past. He was a direct voice medium, if you would. He had to hear your voice. You didn't necessarily have to tell him anything specific, but in hearing your voice, that vibration was enough for him to connect to what he needed to do. So he'd say, just give me a name and your date of birth. Has nothing to do why you're calling in today, but just so he could hear something and connect to you that way. So it almost sounds like you're a voice direct as well. Dexter's mom asks, Rick, did this used to make you sick in the beginning?
Yes, 100%. Let me explain something to you. When I first started reading people, I would be able to remember every reading from details, every reading. And it got to a point, this is kind of weird, but it got to a point where I started forgetting my childhood memories. I couldn't remember the friends that I actually grew up with. And then I decided to ask God to come in here and stop that. And I stopped remembering readings. Now I don't remember reading. I can read a person and walk away. I don't remember the reading. It's like it comes in and then it goes. But
So
it wasn't.
you're that tuned in radio, and as soon as you walk away, the dials turn to a different station. So you're not getting any more of that feedback. You're not getting any more. That's fascinating. Do you ever try, like, if we're sitting in a restaurant and you see Dave Schrader across the room without permission, but knowing me, can you reach in and start to pick up information from Dave? Or does it have to be that exchange where I engage you and I say, Rick, I need you to read for me?
100%. I've watched a lot of meetings. It's like you go up to strangers on the road. I don't do that. I've tried that before when I was first started, and I never connected. Because that's not how it should be. Okay, that's their space, that's their energy. I don't mess with anybody. And I like that because that's their private life. You know what I mean? I don't want to mess with their private life. And whenever I try, it doesn't work because that's not how I'm supposed to do it. They only have to come to me and then I can actually connect with them. So, and like I said, I don't see anything from anybody. And I liked it because if I did, believe me, I would have major issues.
When you're shut down while you're awake, do you find that when you're sleeping, somebody that has this ability, does it become intrusive into the dream realm at least? Does it start to affect or impact you, or do you have to do kind of that static bubble before you go to bed as well?
Well, let me explain something about my dreams, okay? Before I got into paranormal, I was a sleepwalker, a sleep talker, do weird stuff, man. I would see all kinds of things in my room thinking there were demons. I would see things out my window. I didn't know, but I was raised that was demons, okay? My mom said that was demons, so I always thought it was demons. So after that first paranormal experience, all that disappeared. I don't sleepwalk. I don't talk in my sleep. I don't do any of that stuff because the spirits are saying, Rick, you can communicate with us. It was spirits communicate me the whole time. And I didn't know. I didn't understand it. But it's amazing how I awaken and then boom, it just stopped happening. So it's amazing.
Have you ever been doing a reading and connecting through remote viewing and been frightened for the person or yourself with what you were connecting to?
On one of the actual forums, I was reading a gentleman. He came on my forum, he came on my post, and he said, listen, I dare you to read me. I said, no problem. I can read you. No, I'll read anybody, right? I'm just having fun here. He said, but you're gonna be scared and you're gonna regret it. I'm like, I mean, why? Why am I gonna be scared, right? So I started reading the guy, right? So I started reading him, and I actually was like, I was in his house. and he was cooking something on the stove. And he was just
Oh no.
stirring it. And then all of a sudden he poured it in a bowl and it was pure red. He was actually drinking and eating somebody's blood. I think he was a serial killer. Okay. He was testing me, see if I could see it. He instantly got off the site and was gone. And people were shocked because I was like 98% on target with everybody I was connecting with. So I think that was a serial killer.
Yikes. Now, does that, you get done with that connection, that's got to be like a Hail Mary prayer right there, right? Start polishing the bubble from the inside, making sure you're clear and cleansed so that whatever that thing is not sticking to you.
It's creepy because, even working on these missing person cases, I can actually, once this is how I connect with them until they pass. Once they pass, I cannot see them on the other side. So once a murderer kills them, I can't see them, but I can still see the connection to the killer. So I'm able, if he's still alive, I'm able to tap into his energy and see things about him, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, that's that would be the part. See, I've wanted to build a gift. I know I've got sensitivities to things. My fear would be tapping into that and having that kind of dead zone ability, like the Stephen King character, that you come into contact with people and you start picking up that kind of garbage, the negativity, the abuse. And that's got to be rough. And I got to guess the further we go along in this, and how do I say this? I don't want to sound dismissive in any way, shape, or form. So let me start off by doing that. But I don't know many women right now in my sphere of influence that haven't been abused sexually or physically by someone in their past.
Right.
And you start to think that, there's so much damage that's been done, so much hatred that's been spread, that you start making connections. That empathetic wave of trauma that we hold inside has got to come crashing down when you make those connections. When you do that, though, do you have a way, Rick, to help them purge that out of their system so that the pain reduces, or the negativity that they're holding can go away?
Well, the thing is about it, when I offer these connections, that is something that kind of helps them cleanse their body. Okay. It kind of like gives them a release, because now somebody else knows what they're going through and they're not doing it alone. And that's one of the healing process I feel when I offer these readings. That's what happens. And they always come back. You have no clue. Let me explain one more quick story for you. Let me tell you this.
Please.
I was doing a reading for a young lady, and she said, "Can you connect with children?" I said, "I'll try." So she said, "Here's the name." And she gave me a name and a little picture of a child, a 3-year-old child. So I was reading the child, but I saw a lot of bad things. I saw blood. I saw a curb. I saw a man, and I got the name. The name was Michael. I kept getting the name Michael. So she came back. She said, "You're not going to believe this, but my 3-year-old daughter was playing outside, and a guy named Michael just came and got her and smashed her head and killed her."
Wow.
3-year-old daughter. So I said to her, "Well, let's go. We can see if we can go any farther." So I said, "Write down 5 things you would want your daughter." She didn't believe it completely. She said, "Write down." I said, "Write down 5 things you want your daughter to say." One of those things on there. So number 3, she wrote down something on number 3. So I started seeing, and I just saw her in the shower making 3 hearts in the shower every morning. So on the paper, number 3 is her 3 hearts in the shower. That was enough to heal her, knowing that her daughter's okay. And she started working again. She got remarried, and she had another kid. Amazing. She was stuck in that house. She was depressed, and she wouldn't go anywhere. So that's what a reading can do.
Beautiful. We're going to take another quick break. We'll come back. We'll continue with questions in the chat room. If you have questions for Rick Waid about his abilities, about dealing with these type of things. And before we leave each other here in about 20 minutes, Rick, I would like some tips for you to give to us. I know that you teach classes on this, but what are a couple of things we can start to do to measure if we do have that ability to take it to the next level, to start taking classes? So we'll cover that when we return. We've got more to discuss right here on the Paranormal 60. Oh, my little darklings. Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness is out.
and it's available right now. And I would love for you to pick up a copy of my brand new book. You can get it on Amazon wherever you live in this great, big, wonderful world of ours. Or if you'd like to get an autographed copy and you live here in the United States, go to paranormal60.com. We have the standard copy, non-autographed, just $20. Signed copy, only $30. And not only do we have this book, but we have my other book, The Other Side. And right now I'm running a special. If you pick up both books, you can get both books for $40, both signed. Both will be shipped in one package for one price. So go check out all the information at paranormal60.com. The Other Side, a teen's guide to ghost hunting and the paranormal, which is a guide on ghost hunting and the paranormal. Or you can get Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness, real life encounters with the supernatural. And not only are they some of my all-time favorite stories from you, but there's a few of my favorite stories that have happened to me in the book as well. So go check it out, paranormal60.com, to order your copies, or you can buy copies wherever you are in the world that are unsigned at amazon.com. And I'll ask you this. Many of you have supported me in buying this book already. If you could just take 30 seconds to rate and review this book on Goodreads or on amazon.com, I would greatly appreciate it, because the more we get of good ratings and reviews, the more they expose this book to a wider, bigger audience. So I would appreciate that as a personal favor to me, your pal, Dave Schrader.
I know, folks, you just can't get enough of me. You wish there was one more day a week. Boy, if only we could get 3 days a week of paranormal talk radio. Well, you can. And how do you do that now? Well, I'm also the host of the Paranormal 360, the most well-rounded paranormal program in the marketplace. How do I know? Because I wrote that line explaining it. It is the Paranormal 360 every Sunday on WCCO Radio in Minnesota. You can stream it on the Odyssey app, or you can simply ask your smart device, "Hey Siri, make sure to set up and play WCCO Radio every Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central." It's just that simple. Or perhaps you can ask, "Hey Alexa, make sure to set an alarm that every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central, you fire off WCCO Radio." See, it's just that simple. Or subscribe to the Odyssey app for free, and you'll not only find the Paranormal 60 podcast network there, you'll also be able to find WCCO Radio, and you can stream us live every Sunday night. This past week, yesterday, an amazing show. Entities and Elementals in the first hour, Life, Death, and the Afterlife of Marilyn Monroe in hour 2. A lot of fun. Those episodes are up. You can go right now to paranormal60.com, and at the top of the page, you'll see the little banners. Go to the Paranormal 360. We have all the past episodes and hours labeled right there for you, so you can catch up on all the episodes you've missed. Welcome back. Now, this is the Paranormal 60 podcast. You can see us live here every Monday and Wednesday night on YouTube. And for those of you listening to the audio only version, you'll hear us every Tuesday and Thursday. Rick Waid, my guest tonight, and we're discussing remote viewing and the gifts that he has, a different form of remote viewing. And Rick, for people that are interested in maybe taking classes to take that next step, what are a few things that we can start to do today to test the waters and see if we're even really susceptible to this?
It's very simple. What I used to do is very simple. I will take a book I've never read, just take the book, lay it on a table, concentrate on a page, and see what's being given to me. Number one thing, practice that for a week. Watch and see what happens. Start getting things. You might get an exact word, or you might get, an image of the actual what's on the page. Another thing, real easy to do, go write down 5 things that comes to your mind, and then go watch like a 45-minute show and see if that actually manifests in the show. Simple stuff, very simple stuff. What I used to do, which is interesting, is I would contact my brothers and sisters. I would contact them and say, "Listen, I'm going to see if I can connect with you. I know they live in other states. I'm not at their house. I don't know what the inside looks like, because I don't visit very much. I'm too busy." But anyways, so I would just sit there and relax and see what's being given to me. And I would be able to pick up the image of the couch, what it looked like. I would pick up what they had for dinner. I would pick up the conversation about going to get a dog. I mean, all this stuff is being given to me. And it's just practice. The key is the practice. The thing is, most people don't have the time and energy, and they won't do it. You got to give time and energy to it, or it won't develop. I gave my heart and soul and mind to it, and that's why I develop it. But most people won't do that. A lot of people are on medications. Medications really will affect you. They will affect you. They really will. So, they'll affect the way you see things and stuff, and honestly, did you know I had 5 strokes? Did you know that?
I did not.
I think part of that was the stress of all these readings and connecting with people with heart problems. I think that was part of my actual issues because I was taking too much on. So
That's interesting because Wednesday night we're going to actually have a conversation on the Paranormal 60 News with the news crew. One of the questions I posed is, do you think that the supernatural can have a physical effect on our health and our body? So obviously you think that can happen.
100%.
Interesting. We'll have to chat about that on Wednesday, keeping that in mind. But there are different people out there, and I take kind of a different tact at it. Not everything is the paranormal. Sometimes people are sick because of the actions that they've taken in life, and it has nothing to do with their fascination with ghosts or UFOs or Bigfoot. If you're a chain smoker and a drinker, you get liver disease and lung cancer. It has nothing to do with the haunted house that you were in, but might have something to do with how much you smoke. Doesn't mean that you aren't maybe more vulnerable and open to disease because you're dwelling in negativity and in a sense poisoning your genetic and psychic DNA, allowing more sickness in. So you do have to start to learn to shield, like Rick was mentioning, making that, I've gotten, Rick, you've been with me at these events. Sometimes I get very overwhelmed by the crowd. I love the people. I love giving hugs. I love getting hugs and being a part of it. And this weekend was an extreme emotional roller coaster for me because of what's going on with our friends Andrea and Chris Fleming, and then saying goodbye to the Michigan Paracon, and so many people feeling affected and lost. And where am I going to go next August? And this is my thing. And, there was all this kind of angst. There were times I had to keep going up to my room to just get away, stand in the cold with the lights off and just relax and kind of get out of that zone. People, if they're feeling overwhelmed, that's probably a good thing, right? Just get that break for yourself, because you're letting the outside influence the inside. Then
you're basically saying the same thing happened to me. My last 2 people I read at the event was so emotional, it hit me hard. So I would actually go back out and watch the reading, and I would be bawling my eyes out in the hallway. Then I would come up to the individual and I couldn't even talk. I'm telling you, I was so lost. I went up to my room just like you did. I laid down, calmed down. Then I took a shower to cleanse my energy. Because I'm telling you, I came back down. I was fine. But I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't even look at anybody. Yeah. I was in tears. It was horrible. It's horrible. Yes, 100%, man. It's just too much going on. Too much going on. I was way over.
And right now we are in a world that's very unsettled with, war on many fronts, and murder and death, and uncertainty with finances, and uncertainty with our political structure. All of these things kind of up in upheaval. This is probably the best time, if anything. And I want to retouch on this. You were giving us some clues on how to start tapping in. Here's a couple of exercises you could do. Get up, give your mind a few minutes, and then just jot down 5 or 6 items, and then see if you see those items through the day, doing some of those things. But I think before you begin that, you do have to put up that bubble. You do have to put up that protective barrier for yourself before you start plugging in, especially for the people that are new to this and want to do it. That should be a very important element to getting started. Am I right?
That's 100%, 100% right. Because even before I even did the event, before I do any gallery reading, I always ask God to protect me, cover me with his white light, and have all positive messages come through. Nothing. I don't bring negative, bad messages to people. I bring something uplifting, something to open their eyes. I always say opening hearts and minds. And that's what I do. I open hearts and minds whenever I offer that kind of connection. But that's exactly what it is, man. You have to protect yourself. It's very important. And even when I do ghost hunts, I protect myself before, and I protect myself whenever I leave. That's just how it is. And I just say, dear Lord, please cover me with your white light and protect me. I don't use stones. I don't use crystals. I just use what I believe is protecting me. And it's doing great. I have no issues.
And here, I'll give this as a tip to you, Rick, as well as somebody that's been doing this for 18 years. I've learned that, sometimes the ego side of protect me, protect me, protect me. And that's not bad. You want to keep that protection. You want to set that intention. But what I try to do when I leave locations, and I did it when we were at the convention this last week, I said a clearing prayer, and I said, I want all of these people to return home safely, and that our paths may cross again in the future. But I do that with the spirit when I leave a haunted location. Is I'll do a clearing prayer, not just for myself, but for the location and for spirits that do want to find a way to leave, giving them, kind of infusing it with love and compassion and empathy to help them try to find their way and not follow me.
Exactly.
Lord, come in here and help these spirits out and return to me my mind, body, spirit, and allow me to leave in one piece and allow them to find their next step in the journey, kind of clearing.
And the thing is, I have to do it that way because, see, I host events, I host gallery readings and ghost hunts. So I have to protect everybody there. So I do that. I really do that. So it's just amazing. But even whenever I do gallery readings, I always want to protect everybody. And I want to actually get messages coming through in a positive way from everybody that I'm offering messages. You know what I mean? I do that for all the time. So, and I'll tell you what, it's just an amazing experience to actually see what I do. So I love it. I love it. But at the same time, I get drained, I get tired, and I had to go upstairs multiple times over the weekend. I got major back pain. I could feel it in me. I had to just release it because there's so many people going through so much hardship right now.
I was joking at the Michigan Paracon. Whenever we go to that event, there's 2 nights of karaoke, or as we call it, scarioke. Yeah. And I've learned to embrace and love the characters that go up there, and some that you would think, ooh, this person should have somebody tell them this is not a forte for them. And I have learned, I've had friends say, I've asked for protection. Why am I hearing this? And I said, well, you asked for the wrong kind of protection, because what I'm seeing and hearing is something beautiful. Somebody is living a really beautiful moment right now, and they're sharing it with us. And you can look at the fact that maybe they're not the most in tune or on key or in rhythm singer, but you get to watch a blessing happen. You get to watch somebody get to have a moment, and you can either be part of that and clap and hoot and holler and give them some peace and love and empathy, or you can be sour and turn away and walk. And I watched a few of those singers that are heartfelt singers and love it, and got the applause and adulation of an audience that he probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And I'm so glad that people support and show that love. So even in those dark moments, Rick, right? Even in those moments when we feel attacked, sometimes we have to look back at those things. And not that I'm equating karaoke with psychic attack, but sometimes it can feel that way. Yeah, I can only hear It's Raining Men so many times, Jeff Belanger, and then it does become a psychic attack.
Hey,
right?
Jeff was my backup dancer, man. He was my backup dancer.
I know, I saw that. It was amazing. But it's beautiful when you do consider looking at these things and seeing how things come at you. If you focus on the negativity of the experience, that's what's going to control you. If instead you can look past that negativity and see what the lesson is, or see the beauty behind what's going on, even in an awkward moment. There's been times I've stood there and somebody with a couple of my friends, and I have this exchange with somebody, and they walk away and they go, oh my God, that was so awkward. Was that embarrassing for you? And I'm like, no, why would it be embarrassing? And they're like, oh, that person was struggling so much. They didn't know what to say to you. They didn't know how to act. And I go, God, that was beautiful. They took down a wall for me and felt like they could talk to me. And I appreciate that. I think that's beautiful, because as somebody who suffers from anxiety and imposter syndrome, I don't have that ability to just go up and say what is on my mind or in my heart all the time. I second guess, third guess. So I love it when somebody has the guts to walk up to me as a stranger and share an experience, share their thoughts, share a heartfelt moment. I just think that's wonderful. And I look past the awkwardness of what it might look like to other people and look at the message that's coming through. And what it is 2 people are connecting right now. And I can elect to say, this is awkward, or we can say, I'm here for you. What do you want to share?
100%. Beautiful, beautiful, man. Beautiful. Love it.
Now, I do have to worry about you, Rick, because, you've been doing this. You've suffered 5 strokes. You continue to be open to this and help others. You're going to continue to come in contact with people that have heart issues and health issues. I hope that you're doing more to protect yourself.
Well, the thing is, I figured out what was the problem. You know,
Okay.
it was a lot of stress. I had a hole in my heart. So they plugged the hole, and honestly, the last 5 years I ain't had nothing. So we
Excellent.
worked, we fixed it. And plus, you know, it was a stressful time. I lost my job and everything. You know, you put all that together, you know, and
Oh,
that's
I
what
know.
it all takes an effect. And then actually, well, it'll mess with your mind, your body. You know, I'm struggling. You know, I was struggling at the time, so I had to work 3 or 4 jobs. You know, I put a lot of stress on myself. Plus, I had to read people when I got home, so it was a lot. You know what I mean? I put, you know, and plus, I'm getting old, bro. I'm gonna be 60 next year, man.
Get out of here. You're going to be 60?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I would
Only,
have thought you were maybe around 38, 40 years old.
thank you.
So you're living life right. There's something good about what you're doing to make you look as young and as spry as you are. Let me say this, Rick. If people are interested in getting a reading with you or connecting with you for help, how do they go about doing that?
All they have to do is send me a message on Facebook. That's it.
All right. And we have a link up again for Rick, his website. You can find Rick Waid, W-A-I-D, on Facebook. We have a link up for Rick's books in the Paranormal 60 Amazon bookshop as well. And if you don't mind, Rick, before we part, is it all right if we say a little prayer for you tonight?
Wonderful. I appreciate it.
So for all of our darklings that are listening live, or if you're listening in the playback, remember the time that we all come together is more than two, that our words and our deeds are multiplied. So Lord, we just ask that you be with Rick Waid to help him continue on his journey to help others. We ask that you shield him from negativity. We ask that you place a thorny hedge of protection around him to keep bad things out and allow the good things through. And Lord, we ask that you give his mind, body, and soul strength so that he can continue to do good work and help people feel complete. And Lord, we ask that you be with everybody that's listening and watching this show, live or on repeat. Be with them. Fill their hearts with joy, fill their lives with happiness, and their brains with laughter, and allow them to live a life worth living. And until we meet again, Lord, I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Rick, thank you so much, sir. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the year, and I'm sure we will cross paths again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in and spending some time with us here tonight. May the darkness of the world, which can seem very dark at times, may there just be a little bit of light, a spark of light that you find here on the Paranormal 60, that you can take with you on your journey. The insights, the information, whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not, may it ignite at some point in your life and become a blaze, something that inspires you to move forward, to seek more than beyond your normal ken, beyond the life that you're used to. And may you all become woke to the magic of the universe, the magic of your life, and the magic of the connections we make every day. And I challenge each and every one of you, starting tomorrow, when you see somebody, instead of finding the awkward moment in it, revel in the moment of the beauty of this exchange between two people, strangers, friends, family, and love that moment. Until next time, I'll be back with the Paranormal 60 News crew. We'll have some laughs, we'll have some deep thoughts, and we've got questions to answer. We'll do that right here on the Paranormal 60 News. I'm Dave Schrader. Have a good night. Don't forget, you can join Dave Schrader, Cindy Kaza, and the one and only Shane Pittman at the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference in Glen Beulah, Wisconsin, this September 13th through the 15th. Tickets are on sale. More information is available at darknessevents.com. One of the premier paranormal conferences and events of the year. Many great speakers, a lot of fun guaranteed. Come on out, check it out, have fun with us. Workshops, vendors, gallery readings, nighttime investigations, and more. It's a September 12th VIP kickoff party, followed by 3 more days of fun and information that you want to take with you. That's the Great Lakes Paranormal Conference